One of the most frequent comments I get on this channel is, can you review this or that beauty device? And that's how I ended up in this rabbit hole of home beauty tech. I'm Dr. Sarah Sheu, a Stanford-trained dermatologist, and this is my first video in a series on home light treatments. Today, I'm focusing on red and near-infrared lights for anti-aging. I've been using one of the most popular masks out there, the $395 Omnilux Contour Face. And I'll tell you my real thoughts as someone who bought this with my own money. And like usual, I'll share the actual evidence, not just my experience. First, let's talk about what this technology is. Light is a part of a spectrum, including the rainbow of visible light that you're seeing on the screen. Different wavelengths are used for different goals. For anti-aging, you'll see that red light and near-infrared light are used most often. Brian Johnson, the tech bro who became famous because he spends millions of dollars a year trying to reverse aging, uses a red light panel 3 times a week. Fans claim that this technology improves skin tone, texture, and even reverses the signs of aging. This all sounds too good to be true, right? I'm pretty jaded about claims that beauty companies make. When I'm on Reddit, for example, I keep getting ads for this very expensive skincare line. I blurred out the name because the point of this is not to be mean, but really, can we stop pretending that creams can be more effective than a toxin that's injected directly into facial muscles to paralyze them? So, when I first started researching this topic, I thought that these were going to be a giant scam. But I was pretty surprised. There's actually some solid research behind it. One of the best studies on this technology comes from South Korea, the world capital of cosmetic dermatology. They studied two of the Omnilux medical treatments. These aren't the masks that are sold for home use like the Omnilux Contour I have or the Omnilux Men's. These are treatments that you get at a cosmetic dermatology or plastic surgery clinic where you lay under a big glowing panel. This was a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled split-phase study published in 2007. 76 patients were treated twice a week for 4 weeks with either red light, near infrared light, a combination of the two, or a placebo treatment. The results? Wrinkles improved by up to 36%, and skin elasticity improved by up to 19%. Patients consistently reported better tone, texture, and firmness, and those improvements lasted for months, even after treatments were finished. And this wasn't just based on photos or skin measurements. Investigators actually took punch biopsies or skin samples from 19 participants. Under the microscope, they found more collagen and elastic fibers, activated fibroblasts, and even changes in gene expression that support skin remodeling. Importantly, all of this happened without causing heat damage, unlike many of the lasers that we use for rejuvenation. So this study shows that LEDs at the right settings can stimulate real biological changes in the skin safely and non-invasively. There are some important differences between the office and home devices that I'll get into later, but this study at least made me think that this technology is worth looking into. So, how does shining light on your skin even help? It sounds kind of woo woo, right? Like you shine some light on your skin, and I'm supposed to be like a plant. This is supposed to help me feel younger and heal faster. A super simple explanation is that your body's cells have tiny parts called mitochondria. You can think of them as the power plants of your cells. Certain wavelengths boost their activity. You get more ATP or cellular energy, there's less inflammation and oxidative stress, and there's a healthier environment for repair. These treatments are popular because it's a way to give your body's cells a gentle boost without using medicine or other chemicals. If you've looked into buying one of these devices, you'll know that there are hundreds and hundreds of choices. Tons of brands and different types like wands, masks, and panels. Some are under 50 bucks and some are over $500. It can feel really overwhelming. I decided to start with masks because it's easier to predict the dose you're getting because they are at a set distance from your skin, meaning pressed right up to your face, and they usually have preset treatment times too. You get a more predictable dose this way. Before I get into the details about how exactly I chose a mask, because I've talked a lot already and I need a break, let's get a little bit hands on first. This is the mask that I've been using for the past 4 weeks, the Omnilux Contour Face. It retails for $395, which is a lot of money, but the price is similar to other FDA cleared options. It goes on sale pretty often, and I bought this myself in case that matters to you. Putting it on, you're going to see that there is no elegant way to do this. Excuse me. I'm going to shove my head between the mask and the straps. And then you just adjust the Velcro strap so that it's a tight fit. I'm sure it's really hard to design a mask that fits all faces, but this mask fit is really so for my face. I've got a pretty good fit on my forehead, my temples, the sides of my cheeks, in front of my ears. On my lower face, there is a ton of gapping. It's not a tight fit, especially on my chin. It feels like it's kind of flapping in the wind down here. And I've messed with the Velcro a lot, but I haven't figured out a way how to make it a better fit on my lower face. Oh, gotta fix my hair a little. The fit issue, I don't care about it so much from a comfort perspective. It's fine, and the treatment is only 10 minutes long. It's more from a dose perspective. I'll talk about that later. For people who are sensitive to lights, it's pretty bright. It doesn't bother me, but I've read multiple reviews of people saying that they were really bothered by how intense the lights are. One thing that I really like about using masks instead of wands or panels is that the treatments are really convenient. I like the idea of moving around and doing things. I can stick the battery in my pocket and walk around, fold the laundry, take tiny sips of coffee, even, and jump scare my family. I'm not stuck sitting in front of a panel. It's also idiot proof, single button on, just one setting, and it turns off by itself once the 10-minute treatment is over. It also has a really wipeable surface, so I can use it with my normal skincare and clean it off later. And that's a myth I see online, by the way, that you need to use this on bare skin. As long as the skincare that you're using is transparent, light is going to be able to pass through no problem, and the treatment can still be effective. Just like how a non tinted window isn't going to stop sunlight from passing through it. Clear skincare products without sunscreen aren't going to keep light from penetrating your skin either. If you live with other people, out of all these skincare experiments that I've tried, and I've done a lot, Freddy Krueger style sheet masks, the Biodance face mask, which was like I saran wrapped my face, microneedling, or repeatedly jabbing my face with needles, they have never hated anything that I've done more than this. Like telling me, all caps, I hate your mask. I want you to return it. When you put that on, you look creepy, which I kind of expected because it makes you look like a glowing Frankenstein. But this was my most what the hell moment is that it seemed to work. Within 1 week of starting to use it, my skin felt smoother and had more of a glow to it. I felt like an elf from Lord of the Rings or like a vampire in Twilight, and I didn't change my skincare at all during that time. I just used my normal stuff. And that should make me feel happy that something actually worked. But because I'm a weirdo, it really bothered me because the science loving part of me just didn't understand how something that's non invasive could show me results within a week. I'll get into my 4 week thoughts later on, but first, let's get into the science and the research. If you've learned anything so far, I'd appreciate a like or subscribe. Thanks for helping me out. To really understand the research and the difference between products in this space and the difference between office and home devices, you just need to know four basic concepts. I'll keep this part short, but if you understand these four ideas, you're going to understand more about these devices than 99.9% of people out there. Number one is wavelength. This tells you the type of light that you're getting treated with, and you'll see these reported as color or a description like blue, red, infrared. Or you'll see these reported as a number by the abbreviation NM for nanometer. For example, the Omnilux Contour Face has a 633 nanometer red light and an 830 nanometer near infrared light. These are the same wavelengths of light that are in the office study from South Korea that I talked about earlier. The Omnilux Men's and the CurrentBody Series 2 has these wavelengths and another near infrared light too, the 1072 nanometer wavelength. In this range of wavelengths, longer wavelengths or the wavelengths with the bigger numbers penetrate more deeply into the skin. So the 1072 nanometer gets deeper into the skin than the 633 or 830 nanometer wavelengths. These are common wavelengths that you're going to find in anti-aging masks. Versus acne masks, you'll see a combo of red and blue light like 415 nanometer used together. Blue, red, and near infrared are the most common lights in home devices, but some have less common lights like amber, green, and orange. These aren't as well studied as red, blue, and infrared lights. The second concept is irradiance. This tells you how much light energy you're getting in a small area, a squared centimeter, in a single second. If the irradiance is high, you're getting a lot of light energy quickly. And if it's low, the light energy is trickling in a little at a time. Number three is fluence. This tells you the total amount or dose of light energy in a single treatment. For example, if my Omnilux contour treatment is 10 minutes long, that fluence tells me how much total light energy I received over the full 10 minutes in that same small square centimeter area. To understand this in an extremely simplified way that might make physicists upset, think about using a water hose to fill a bucket. The irradiance is like how much water is flowing out of the hose. Is the water blasting out like a fire hose? That's like having a high irradiance. A little drip, like peeing through an enlarged prostate, that is like having a small irradiance. Then, whether you run the hose fast or at a trickle, run it for 10 minutes, and how much is in the bucket at the end? That's like the total dose or fluence. Finally, one of the most important factors in a light treatment is distance. As you move further from the light source, light energy drops off very quickly. Even over small distances, like just a centimeter or two, the actual dose you're getting is smaller than if your light is right up on the lights. And that's why it matters if the mask is flapping in the wind and not sitting on my chin. Areas where there's a loose fit are going to get a lower irradiance and a lower fluence. It's also why you can't directly compare the irradiance from a home panel that you sit 6 inches away from and the irradiance that you get from a mask that's touching your face. Now you know more than 99% of people out there about home light devices. So now you can understand that masks can be different in their wavelengths, irradiance, and fluence, and fit, which can affect distance. Other things that were important to me when choosing a mask were comfort, things like device weight and being able to walk around, the price, warranty, and customer service. These devices are pretty expensive, so you're going to want to know that if something breaks, that the company is going to fix it with no drama. And FDA clearance. FDA clearance means that the company has proven to the FDA that their device is safe. Clearance for devices means this device is safe enough to sell. Important point that FDA clearance is very different from FDA approval for new drugs and medications. Approval for a drug means we have strong evidence that this drug is safe and that it works. Clearance for devices doesn't tell you anything about whether a device does what it claims or not. But having to prove safety is still way better than nothing. And the rando or no name devices you see on Amazon that are probably just cheap wholesale products from Alibaba with a logo slapped on it, I wouldn't put that anywhere near my face or eyes personally. You have no idea what kinds of wavelengths, irradiances, and fluences you're actually getting, and if there's any sort of quality control on these masks. Another thing that might surprise you about home light masks, we think that we have a lot of options because there's different brands and different colors and labels slapped on these, but when you look under the hood, a lot of them are really similar. I see a lot of people talking online about whether they should buy the Omnilux Contour Face or the CurrentBody Series 1, but they have the same wavelengths, they have the same irradiance of 30 milliwatts per centimeter squared, the same treatment length of 10 minutes. And when you have the same irradiance, treatment time, and distance, you get the same fluence or dose of 18 joules per centimeter squared. In CurrentBody's FDA application for their Series 1 mask, the Omnilux Contour was listed as the predicate device, meaning that CurrentBody is saying to the FDA, hey, our Series 1 is substantially equivalent or very similar to the Omnilux Contour face. It's boring to hear someone go through the wavelength, irradiance, and fluence for all the popular devices, but it is surprisingly time consuming to gather this information, so I'll stuff that all in a link and put it in the description. It took me hours to track this information down, and there's no need for you to waste your time too. On to the research, this time about home masks. On the Omnilux website, you're going to find the clinical biography page. That's where I found this link to a page sharing the details and results of a clinical trial that used the contour face mask. And as much as I've been impressed by the actual device itself, this study is pure and utter poop. Like, the study design is terrible. The study enrolled 28 people, and they were asked to use the contour face 3 times a week for a month. And as you might expect, since this study is on the Omnilux website, there were some impressive results. Number and width of wrinkles improved by 39%. Hydration or moisture levels improved by 19% immediately after just one treatment. And over 90% of people said that their skin felt softer, smoother, plumper, and more hydrated. But the issues that I have are number one, this is important, but not as big of an issue as the other one I'll get to in a second. The majority of people had fair skin. Fitzpatrick skin types are a way to group people's skin based on how it reacts to the sun, and it's a scale from 1 to 6. It's roughly proportional to how pale or deep someone's skin tone is. Type 1 is like a porcelain skinned redhead who burns every time they're in the sun. Type 6 is rich, deeply brown skin that never burns. In this study, the deepest skin type that was included was Fitzpatrick type 4 out of 6, or olive skin that rarely burns, and that was only 2 out of the 25 participants. So 23 out of 25 participants had Fitzpatrick's types 1 to 3, or fair to medium skin, no brown or dark brown skin. And the reason this is important is because dark skin and light skin can respond very differently to treatment. And people with dark skin can be more prone to side effects from laser and light based devices like discoloration and scarring. Finally, this was my WTF moment when it came to this study's design. Take a look at this part with me. Subjects used the Omnilux Contour Face LED mask along with a special hydrogel mask. This is not how most people are using these LED masks. Most people use the LED by itself, not with a single use hydrogel every time, unless you're rich. On the Omnilux website, the hydrogel mask is sold in packs of 3 for $29 or about $10 a mask. And they contain several actives like niacinamide, licorice root extract, hyaluronic acid, and antioxidants. So, for this study, you have no idea whether smoothness and hydration benefits were caused by the device or $30 worth of hydrogel sheet masks per week. Just because this study is crappy doesn't mean the product doesn't work. But so called clinical trials in the beauty industry suffer from really terrible design. And that's why I don't trust the beauty industry when they use phrases in their marketing like clinically tested or proven in clinical studies. You can prove anything if the study is bad enough. I really wanted to see a study on a home use device where participants aren't also using a different type of treatment, like a hydrogel sheet mask. Like with most home beauty devices, there's just not a lot of published studies on effectiveness. But I found this one on the Omnilux Men's mask. Investigators in the study followed 7 men who used the mask at home 3 to 5 times per week for 6 weeks. Both digital skin analysis and participant reports showed improvement in pores, wrinkles, and UV spots. The biggest measurable change was a reduction in porphyrins. Porphyrins are byproducts from acne causing bacteria that live on your skin. Higher porphyrin levels signal more bacterial activity, which is associated with acne development. Reducing porphyrins can improve acne and reduce inflammation. Obviously, the study isn't as rigorous as the study on the office devices I mentioned earlier, but it's something. The biggest criticism I've seen on home red light and near infrared masks, they are weaker than the in office versions of these treatments and are therefore too weak to be helpful. But let's take a look at how these home devices and in office treatments compare. Part of the reason I bought an Omnilux mask is that they have a track record with this technology, at least in the office. They have sold office only treatments to places like dermatology offices and medi spas for years, long before these home masks became popular. For a single office Omnilux medical treatment, like one session with the Omnilux Revive, you can expect to pay between $40 and $60. This is the office version of the red light that's also in the Omnilux Contour mask. The irradiance for this office treatment is 105 milliwatts per centimeter squared. For the Omnilux Plus treatment, which has the same near infrared wavelength that's in the Omnilux Contour, the irradiance for this in office treatment is 55 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So, at face value, you might be thinking that these numbers, 105 for the red light only, 55 for near infrared only, they are a lot bigger than the 30 milliwatts per centimeter squared combined red light plus near infrared irradiance that's in the Omnilux Contour. But remember, when you became a light therapy expert, what is one key difference between the office treatment and the home masks? I'll give you a second. Distance. This is not an apples to apples comparison. Light energy drops off really quickly, even over short distances, like 1 or 2 centimeters. The numbers for the office treatments, they are measured at the source or at the lights. The lights are usually about 5 centimeters away from the skin in the office treatments. The home mask is pressed directly onto your face. You are receiving a bigger fraction of that 30 milliwatts per centimeter square. 5 centimeters doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes to light energy, you can see a huge drop off over small distances like that. So just because the numbers are different, that doesn't mean that home treatments don't work. The other piece of this is that high irradiances or high fluences aren't necessarily better when it comes to rejuvenation. The entire concept of this technology came from the observation that using low versus high levels of laser or light energy can have completely different effects. A great example of this is laser hair removal. Obviously, when people go to get laser hair removal, they want their hair to go away. But one potential complication of laser hair removal is increased hair growth. Isn't that terrible? But this is especially likely to happen at lower energies. If you use energies that are too low to destroy the hair follicle, it can actually have the exact opposite effect. Activate stem cells in the hair follicle to start growing more hair. So in this example, high energies can destroy hair and low energies can make it grow. It's like the Kelly Clarkson song, what doesn't kill you can make you stronger. You can't assume that using high levels of low energy will do a better job at stimulation because at some point it will have exactly the opposite effect. So I see people online saying mask A is better than mask B because it has an irradiance of 70 and the other one has an irradiance of 20. And the only way you can actually say that is by putting mask A and B in a head to head, ideally placebo controlled study with objective outcomes measured by blinded investigators who don't know which mask the participant is using. But this is the world of cosmetics, which is a world of bad science. So are we ever going to get that? I doubt it. On to my 4 week personal results. I am not going to pretend that my results are reasons to buy or not buy this device. I am one person. This is clearly not a placebo controlled study with blinded investigators. But here is my 1 month experience using the Omnilux Contour Face for 1 month, at least 3 times a week. Things I've noticed are that my skin looks really radiant, glowing. I just look more rested, like I don't have a full time job and a family. And it's been really easy to keep up the routine of using it because it's super passive. I put it on when I respond to emails, read studies for future videos, work on scripts, fold laundry, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. The biggest downside of this mask, in my opinion, is the fit. For me, it fits really well on my upper face and it gaps a lot on my lower face. I heard some people on Reddit complain that it didn't fit their nose well, and I didn't have that problem, but I have a pretty small nose. So if you have an average to larger nose, you might experience that problem too. But that's another example of this mask not being one size fits all. If I have a free hand, I'll hold it against my chin to keep the mask in place better. I'm also on the fence whether it's good for my pigmentation issues. I have a rare form of hyperpigmentation called Hori's nevus, and it feels like I would make new dark spots even if I lived in a cage. I do think that since using my mask, the spots on my cheeks are a tiny bit darker, but absolutely your mileage may vary because a lot of people report that their pigmentation issues improve a lot with these masks. Quick note, I think you could have great skin without using a single beauty device in your whole life. If you're getting started with skincare, a cleanser, moisturizer, and sunscreen is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. None of that has to be expensive, and I've covered a lot of budget options on my channel already. I wouldn't even have tried beauty tech or beauty devices if my patients and viewers weren't asking me about them consistently. Overall, I'm glad I tried this mask and I'll be testing out some other options like Forio's FAQ mask in the next few months. I'm also testing out a red light device for my scalp and a home microneedling system too. Thanks to my viewers for always giving me new ideas and for being so kind and supportive of this internet stranger. I'll keep trying my best for you. Thanks for watching.